to the UIAAA Connection podcast. GoFan and VNN are proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the UIAAA Connection. Now a combined company, GoFan and VNN provide a seamless integration for digital ticketing and athletic websites. Direct your fans to one place for all your athletic events, communications, and tickets to home and away games. Thank you to GoFan and VNN for their exclusive sponsorship of the UIAAA Connection.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection. I'm your host, Mark Hutch Hunter. Today we have as our special guest Stephanie Blackwell, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the Athletic Coordinator at Union Public Schools in Oklahoma. Stephanie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Let's have you begin by sharing with our audience here in the United States and across the world where you grew up, where you went to college, your first job, etc.
Okay, well, I grew up in Oklahoma, in Bixby, Oklahoma, which is south of Tulsa. So Northeast Oklahoma. I went to Bixby High School and then went to the University of Tulsa, where I just fell in love with that place. I got to cheer there and do a bunch of other things on campus. It kind of brought me out of my shell. And then I got a degree at TU. They made you double major if you were doing education in secondary. So I got a degree in math and a secondary education degree. So I then went and taught at a little school that scared me to death. I taught six different preps the first year. And then I went back home to Bixby, begged them. I'm like, please let me come home. That wasn't for me. So went home and started teaching math. And then I had a great athletic director that let me kind of shadow him a little bit as a cheerleading coach. You know, you don't get a lot of opportunities like that. So he let me do that. And that's how I got started in athletic administration.
Let me ask you a follow-up about having 6 preps in one day. So what were the topics that you taught that caused you to have 6 preps?
Well, it was math. So it was algebra
Right.
1, algebra 2, calculus, geometry, and then trig and math analysis. So it was a 7-period day. And again, my first year, I was just like, what am I doing? So yeah, I figured that wasn't for me.
You had to teach all those in one day, every day.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, you're to be commended because I spent 34 years teaching math myself, and I may have had 2, maybe 3 preps in a day, but I never had 6. So you're to be
6.
commended.
It was a teeny school. So, but yeah, there were 2 math teachers, I think, at the school. But you know, when you're young and you're getting out and you're like, you get that first job offer and you're like, yes, I'll take it. So that's what I did. But while I was there, I coached cheer at Bixby at my alma mater. So that kind of helped me get a foot in the door there. So, you know.
Let's have you talk about your youth years. Were you able to play organized sports at all? Were you into that?
Well, I was a gymnast. So
okay.
I started, very competitive gymnast. I started out when I was 8 and competed back in the day. You know, there's levels now. Back in the day, it was classes. So I was class 1, right below elite. And it was a job. You know, I got off the school bus, got in a car, drove to the gym for 4 hours, and then got home and did my homework about 9:30 and started all over the next day again. And then about my junior year, I was getting hurt quite a bit, broken this, broken that. And I was like, forget it. And I swore I'd never, the cheerleaders would come in to learn to tumble and they'd be on the tumble track. And I'm like on the beam doing my 8-10 routines that we're supposed to do. And they're just, having fun and being all bubbly. And I'm like, dude, stop. I swore I'd never be a cheerleader. And then I tried out my junior year in high school and then, made a career out of it basically. So it was but gymnastics is my first love, definitely.
And you did mention then you cheered at Tulsa, correct?
Yes, I got to cheer at the University of Tulsa, yes, from 88 to 92. So we went to And it was different there. It wasn't as competitive. It was more sideline, or it was all sideline, but we traveled a lot and we were with the alumni a lot. So it was very neat and a different experience because we got to kind of cater to them or, feed them, but definitely neat people that you got to learn about and build relationships with and get to know. So it was a unique experience for me.
Was there any type of scholarship attached to that, or you went to
Yes.
Tulsa, you had to try out, or you made the team? How did that work?
Yes. So the first couple years, there were over 100 girls that tried out for 7 spots. Um, and we had, obviously it was co-ed and there were guys, so there were 7 girls and 7 guys. And there were probably 8 or 9 guys that tried out every year. So 7 of them made it a little less stressful. And we had a tryout, an open tryout. People were in there, and then that would be on a Saturday. And then on Monday afternoon, evening, we would get a phone call if we made it or not. So, and we got, if you got a little bit, it half right, I think the first couple years, and then it dwindled pretty quick, but it was a nice amount for TU. It was about, I don't know, it was pretty expensive back then. So
Let me ask you if you were fairly confident based on your gymnastics background that you would make the team, or were there other young women as skilled as you trying out?
oh, absolutely. So the first year, not so much. It was, it was a little scary actually. When I cheered, I did more of the tumbling because I was a gymnast. So they're like, hey, you go up front and flip or whatever, and we'll come back here and build. So because it was co-ed, I hadn't stunted a lot with guys. And so that became, I think that was the hardest part to get over. But after that, no, I was pretty confident that I would make it. I felt like I prepared myself enough to
Very
walk
good.
out of there and go, I'm fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. Let's have you talk with our audience for a moment about the mentors, leaders, coaches, parents you had in your life that have made a difference for you.
Oh, there's plenty. Start with my parents. Amazing, hold you accountable, showed you how to do the right thing. So I would say they huge impact, always supportive. Then in gymnastics, I would say both. I had a great gymnastics coach, always teaching life lessons. It was we'd mess up or something, and it was, hey, let's talk about that. Let's get that right. Encourage. And then I would say when I cheered in high school, I had a great cheer coach, and she actually made it fun and made it more of a sport than hopping around and flipping the skirt. So as we'd say. And then later on in my career, Steve Smiley was probably one of the most influential mentors that I had. He was the athletic director when I was the cheer coach at Bixby, and he let me hang out with him and do some things. And then he retired, and I got the opportunity to step into that position with the head football coach, and we were co-athletic directors for a while, and then the head coach stepped down and I became the athletic director there. And then so I would say Steve, and then just other people that probably don't realize they're mentors. I work with a wonderful staff here at Union, and the director of athletics here is an amazing person, Emily Barkley, and she's taught me a lot. I've been here for 3 years. I was at Bixby for 24, 17 as AD, and so I've been here 3 at Union, and she's amazing. Everyone here is really good to work with. But I think the other thing is Steve Smiley was very instrumental in getting me involved in the NIAAA. He had such a huge passion for it. And when you're young, you don't realize how important that is, getting involved at the state and national level, and watching those people. I mean, I think I've been state coordinator for Oklahoma for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, it seems. And just watching and sitting back with the other state coordinators and watching them, they mentor to me every day. So They don't realize it, but you know, there's been quite a few.
Let me ask you a side question here. How was it being a co-AD with a football coach when you first started, especially during football season? I'm assuming that pretty much you were
Oh,
co-AD, so it all fell on you during the fall.
actually, he's the neatest man. He was the head football coach and drove the cheerleaders to the games. So he was coaching in the games and he drove the bus with a whole bunch of cheerleaders on it. But yeah, no, we picked, picked each other up and helped each other. And I think that's when he saw the first couple years that it was hard to be a head football coach and an AD. So he stepped down to assistant at that point, and I mean that worked out well. But yeah, I mean, yes, you do pick up stuff when he is coaching.
Sure. Let me ask you a little bit of a personal question here, Steph. What's your biggest failure or disappointment in life, and what did you learn from it?
I That's a good question. You fail every day, I think. I think the best thing is that when you do fail, it is you learn from it and you get back up and you push forward and don't make it your weakness or your failure again. The biggest one, I would say probably most recently is I feel like I didn't finish what I would have liked to have started at Bixby. But always have a plan, always have a backup. And I think I've become a better person because I'm at Union now and learned different things, and there's not always a right or wrong way to do things. So surround yourself by those and learn.
Let's talk a little bit more about your background. You were obviously coaching cheer, you mentioned, and let's delve into that a little bit more. On you said you became the co-AD, but what led up to that? You were just coaching cheer, minding your own business. Someone said, "Hey, how about becoming the AD?" How did that work?
Yeah, well, I never mind my own business, Mark. But yeah, I was a cheer coach and math teacher and all that for 16 years probably before I became the AD there. And again, Steve Smiley was the one, he was my athletic director, and he's like, well, why don't you, I would go visit with him, and I'm like, can I build a website, an athletic website? So I do that. Or he would say, hey, do you want to tag along and watch the game management part of a game, or those kind of things. So I did a lot more hands-on. He let me, it was more like an internship too, for free. Those are the best, right? And I think the superintendent at the time was also very forward thinking, and it was, hey, let's give her a chance.
Let's talk about the job of director of athletics and AD. Talk about how is it different now in 2024 than when you first took over decades ago?
Decades ago. Well, thank you. I know I look pretty young, but no. I think the biggest thing for me is the perspective of seeing more female athletic directors in athletic directing positions, more females. I think there for a while, I was the only female when I'd walk into a room, especially in Oklahoma, and it would be kind of like, why are you here? What's this little girl doing in this meeting? And it's changed a lot in those 20 years. There's more of a respect, and again, building those relationships and getting the respect, instead of having someone look at you and be like, why? I mean, cheer, gymnastics, why is she in the room? So I think that is the biggest difference for me. I mean, there's always the more technology, or, you go through COVID, that'll never be the same, and what we've learned from those. So more paperwork, more red tape, and more changes in just social media wise, and our clientele, the student athletes. I think there's more emphasis on mental health and just it's just a little different. So
Let me ask you, let me ask you a follow-up. So you got into the world of an AD, obviously in Oklahoma, in Utah, and other states. They were a little bit slow to hop on the Title IX bandwagon. How sexist was it, or were they unfair to you because you're a woman? You had to prove yourself extra, where maybe a male would get a pass.
I, I don't think so. I think sometimes I felt like it was more of how I was spoken to or treated, or maybe, okay, let's explain this a little differently. She may not understand. Those kind of things. It wasn't so much I didn't get a pass or I had to prove myself. I mean, you're always having to prove yourself, period. But I think it was just them learning, oh, should I speak this way? Should I, change my mannerisms because there's the female in the room? I think I got that a lot more than anything else.
All right, let's go back and talk now. You talked about Steve and how he got you involved in the NIAAA. Be more specific about that. I'm hoping you got involved in your state association first, and that led to your association with the NIAAA. But share with our audience how that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. He was very, very big in both the Oklahoma ADs Association and the national level. He was actually, I didn't realize this, but he was president of the NIAAA board at one point. And he just got inducted into the Hall of Fame 2 years ago or last year. He passed away recently, so it's kind of bittersweet talking about him and the legacy he left, but it was from the beginning, it was daily calls almost from the beginning. Have you done this? Let me remind you to do this, and then make sure you're involved with these people. And I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you do that, from sitting down, bringing me the application to, this is how you sign up. This is how you do this. You really need to go to the national conference. Back when I first started we didn't have an Oklahoma Athletic Directors Conference. We did, but it was a day at the Oklahoma Coaches Association. So it was intertwined with that. 5 years ago, we broke off and started our own, but it was just the encouragement and the push. You can do it. I know these people. And if you see this person there, say this, or just always reminding me, this is how you're going to get better through these organizations. So
how did you become the state coordinator in Oklahoma?
David Fisher left and said, here. No, I was on the AD's board as I might have been secretary at the time. And he was retiring and just said, Stephanie, you seem to have a passion for this. Would you like to take it over? And I was like, I would love to. Still working on that. But yeah, it was kind of, some of these things, I feel like the door just opened and you either jump in with both feet or you pass it over. And I wasn't going to pass that over.
Basically, you're saying you were voluntold that this is what you would do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But I was happy about it.
Sure. Let's have you share some experiences that you have every year when you go to the coordinators conference, the coordinator summit in Indianapolis in September, and share what a special experience that is to share with ADs from all over the NIAAA.
I think it's a huge learning environment, and watching and sharing. I think it's neat that you have like minds getting together, trying to improve their state, and then sharing those experiences and just learning a lot more of how to get more people involved. And again, just building those relationships with other state coordinators that have great ideas that you can borrow or maybe tweak to fit your state. But you learn so much. But I think it's again, I go back to the building of relationships. I think you learn so much more in that manner to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, this is what we're dealing with. And, just saying, okay, I remember Mark giving technology. And so if I have something with technology, I'm going to call him and say, hey, how did you do that? How did you set that up on the old portal, and you had your own, so those were neat things that you learn and can bring back, or again, tweak and make it fit your state to improve here.
I know that having been there myself for years and years, obviously that's where we met. I know that so much of that conference is when you're sitting at the tables listening to others, but it's like the national conference. So much more of that is at the dinner table or at the lunch table or
at Top Golf.
At Top Golf, exactly, or wherever it is. It's the relationships that you gain with those people outside the room that helps you personally, and of course helps your state. So I think that's well said. Talk about the recent conference in Orlando and what a special experience that was for you.
Well, for a couple of reasons, it was a special experience for me. I recently became chair of the certification committee. And so again, talking about, let's go back to a mentor, Pete Shambo has been absolutely amazing with me and patient, bless his heart. But the conference is it's just a joy to go to. So I had that responsibility. And then just one of our committee members talked to Nellie about doing the ribbons again for certification. And that was fun, being at our certification table and handing out CAA or CMAA designations and those kind of things to put on the badges. But I also won the Bruce Whitehead Distinguished Service Award, which was a huge compliment and just an honor for me, and being able to have have had some good conversations with Bruce was really, it's neat to know who the award's named after, and to have had a little bit of a connection with that person and admired them. So that was a neat part of the experience. I also received in 2014, and I don't mean to laugh about it, but the NFHS Citation Award. And I think I was still so maybe 6 or 7 years into being an athletic director that I was like, didn't understand what that meant and what that award was, that I was just so naive. And maybe I was one of those bubbly dinglings, but that this experience I took more out of, and was in the moment more than I was before. So it was just a huge honor, and it's something that I'm grateful for and don't feel like I deserve, but I'm appreciative of it.
Thank you for sharing. Speak to our audience about what it means to be a successful woman AD, because even though there are a lot more females in the profession now, it's pretty much dominated by males. And so I think we need to hear from you, as obviously the new chair of the certification committee and successful in so many other things, your perspective on being a successful female AD.
I think you just put yourself out there and you grind, and you again, I know I keep saying relationships, but you build it, you build connections with people so they know who you are and they know where you're coming from, and that we're all on the same page. And I feel like you do the best that you can do, and that's what you keep doing, and doors open and people respect you or not, whatever that is, but you just do the best you can do and make those successes happen if you want them to. I still think the bottom line is what is our goal and what is our purpose. And mine's definitely educational based athletics, both with the student athlete and our coaches, to better everyone in that manner, but also better ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. So I think just putting yourself out there, and like you said, it's when you asked about failure, it's okay to fail and it's okay to learn from that stuff. But if you don't do anything, you're not going to get better, and you're not going to succeed in anything. So I think it's just learning to, raise your hand and say, okay, I'll try it, and do those things that you feel like you're not very good at more.
What's the favorite part of your job, Steph?
Love all of it. It's so different every day, but I would say watching student athletes grow and perform, and just being a part of their successes or failures is very rewarding to me.
Let's finish up with a couple of questions. The first one being, I need 2 suggestions from you for a brand new athletic administrator, and they need to follow Steph's suggestions in order to be a success. What would your 2 suggestions be?
Oh, there's so many. The first one I think would be to surround yourself by people better than you. Find that mentor that you trust, but you're not going to know everything. And the more you learn and again, surround yourself by those people that you feel are better than you, you can learn more and let that go. And the second one is definitely delegate. I have a hard time doing that, but once you start to do that, you will free up some of your time, and other people can do the things that you do just as well or not better. And you got to let go of, oh, I don't do it like that. Well, it's okay. The outcome's still the same. So give that stuff up and delegate instead of trying to do everything yourself.
Great bits of wisdom. Let's finish with this question, Steph. What question should I have asked you that I failed to ask you?
Well, hey, I'm going to brag about certification a little bit, if
Perfect.
you're
Go
okay
ahead.
with that. So, I feel like Pete did such a great job and made all the committee, and I hope I'm doing this, feel like we're a team and we're working for things, but we have such a great organization that is letting us kind of do some things that I think are putting us in the forefront of just even college athletic directors, I feel like. But we're working on the CMAA library. So when you get your certifications and you go for that certified master's, we're trying to do a library where you can do the QPA to get it, the oral or the written. So most people are doing oral right now. Written that was the only choice I had when I got mine, and it was a big old folder that I mailed in, and just had pages and pages of stuff, which was great. But us having a library for those that are seeking to get it, to have a reference, and I'll tell you how I sit on those all the time, and I borrow those ideas, and everyone around the nation should be able to look at those and say, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. Or so we're working on that, to have it, fingers crossed. We keep talking about it, but it's actually, there's a lot of things in motion to make it work. So hopefully in NADC or right after in January, we will have something, either the written's up or some of the orals, so that others can view those and look at those. And then we're still analyzing data from the CAA test or the CMAA test, but we've created an exit ticket that now is part of the test, but it just asks information of what did you get out of LTCs? What did you like? How can we improve? Those kind of things, where we have those questions and answers to continue to develop and evolve what our certification is. And I think the other thing that we're kind of working on, that there's been a big push for middle school athletic directors, but with that has given us some other ideas of possibly, I don't even know if I should say this, but I'm going to, of changing our certifications to have like endorsements. So we have our
Mhm.
CMAA, but we have an endorsement in middle school athletics. We have an endorsement in, I just feel like it could just open up, but it also still has to be approved and presented. But I mean, you might could get one in technology. We have an endorsement in technology. We have, kind of like minors in college, but
Sure.
I just feel like it could just open up all kinds of stuff. So those are our big pushes right now. But I love working on that, and I mean, athletic directors are incredible in the first place, but the minds that are on this committee, I mean, they make me look silly, but I love working with them. So it's very, very rewarding.
Well, thank you for that extra push on certification. I would encourage anyone in our listening audience who has not become certified to take a serious look at beginning that process. And if you'll allow me,
Absolutely.
I've got two shout outs for the
Yeah.
certification committee. Jamie Sheets, who I know that you know from Utah, was the first AD to take the oral
Oh,
CMAA.
yeah.
And so we're kind of proud of that in Utah. And as a side note, you talked about Pete Chambeau, or as I call him, Rochambeau. I had him on the podcast, and he was in the middle of his trek on the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, no way.
He got to a place where he got service one night, and I had him.
That's
He had that
awesome.
big beard, and I interviewed him from the Appalachian Trail. So it is definitely a small world. On that note, that concludes this edition of the UIAAA Connection. Again, our special guest today has been Stephanie Blackwell, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the Athletic Coordinator at Union Public High Schools, and the current chair of the NIAAA Certification Committee, along with being a state coordinator and thousands of other things in her life. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Steph.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it. If you ever
For our-
need anything, I'm here for you.
Thank you. For our listeners, we hope you tune in again next week for another edition of the UIAAA Connection.